He sent my nude photos to his friends, so I sent his deepest secrets to their wives. And when I say secrets, I mean the kind that make marriages implode. Let me take you through what happened. And if this story means something to you, don't forget to like, share, or follow. It might help someone else going through the same. My name is Jessica. I'm 32 and work as an ER nurse in a small town in Ohio. I've always been the kind of woman who minds her business, works hard, and gives her all in relationships. I met Brandon 2 years ago. He was 35, worked as a car mechanic, and had this smile that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. Everyone liked him. He was funny, helpful, and never raised his voice. We moved in together after a year. It was nothing fancy, a small duplex near the edge of town. But I liked it. It felt safe. We talked about getting married one day, maybe even buying a house. I really thought I had found someone I could trust. Then one night, I came home late from a shift. Brandon was in the kitchen on the phone, laughing loudly. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard him say something like, "They wouldn't believe what she looks like under those scrubs." My heart sank. I stood there frozen. When he saw me, he quickly ended the call and acted normal, but something felt off. The next day, while he was at work, I went through his phone. I know I shouldn't have, but my gut was screaming. That's when I found them. My private photos. Ones I sent him when we were long distance for a few months. Photos I trusted him with. And they weren't just in our messages. They had been shared, sent in group chats, screenshots, comments, laughter. It felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. My stomach turned. My hands were shaking. These weren't strangers, they were his friends. Married men I'd met at BBQs and game nights. Men who smiled at me and asked about my work. Now I wondered what they were really thinking when they looked at me. I couldn't breathe. I sat on the bathroom floor and cried until I couldn't anymore. I felt dirty, broken, and humiliated. This wasn't just about photos. This was betrayal on a level I never saw coming. He didn't just hurt me, he laughed about it. With people he knew. Over poker and beers. Like I was a joke. I didn't confront him right away. I needed time to think. To plan. Because deep down I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't let him get away with. Not just for me, but for every woman who's ever been treated like a punchline. I didn't wait long to confront him. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, holding his phone in my hand. My hands were cold, my heart pounding. When Brandon walked in, I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just looked at him and asked, "Why did you send those pictures to your friends?" At first, he looked confused, then annoyed. "What are you talking about?" he said. I showed him the messages, the screenshots, the comments, the group chat. His face changed for just a second. Then he smirked. "Oh, come on, Jess. It's not a big deal," he said, brushing it off like I was asking about dirty laundry. "It's just guy talk. Everyone does it. Everyone." I asked, my voice shaking. "You passed around photos of my body like I was nothing." He rolled his eyes. "You're overreacting. It's not like they haven't seen a woman before. You're acting crazy." That word. Crazy. Like I was the one who crossed a line. My chest tightened. I felt dizzy. I stood up and said, "I'm leaving. I can't do this." He didn't flinch. He didn't ask me to stay. He just said, "Where would you even go? You need me, Jessica." That hit me harder than anything else. In that moment, I realized how deep the manipulation had gone. For months, maybe longer, he had chipped away at my confidence. I thought I was choosing to stay. But the truth was, he had built a cage so quietly, I didn't even notice until the door slammed shut. I remembered all the times he made me feel small. The jokes that felt like insults, the way he brushed off my opinions, how I had to tiptoe when he was in a mood. I thought that was just how relationships work. I thought maybe I was too sensitive. But now, standing in front of him, I saw everything clearly. This wasn't love. This was control. This was power. And I had given mine away without even realizing. I didn't leave that day. Not yet. I went back to the bedroom, shut the door, and curled up in bed. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped the life out of me. I didn't trust him anymore. But worse, I didn't trust myself. How did I not see this coming? And if I couldn't trust the man I loved, the one who held me at night and told me he'd always protect me, then who could I ever trust again? I didn't feel like myself for days. After our last argument, I called off 2 shifts at the ER, telling my manager I was sick. In a way, I wasn't lying. My body was fine, but my mind felt bruised and broken. I barely left the couch. I didn't answer texts from my coworkers. I didn't even bother cooking. I just sat there, replaying every moment of the past 2 years, wondering how I missed all the signs. Brandon didn't seem to care about my silence. If anything, he acted relieved. He spent more time at the garage and even later nights with his so-called friends. And when he did come home, he acted like nothing was wrong, as if my trust in him hadn't been shattered. As I sat alone, things started to click. Memories I had brushed off as nothing. The way his phone was always face down on the table, locked with a code I never knew. the smirks from his friends at our neighborhood BBQs when I walked by in shorts. The night he made a joke about me posing like a model when we were alone, then laughed when I got uncomfortable. They weren't random moments. They were pieces of a puzzle I hadn't put together until now. On the third day of my self-imposed isolation, I went into the garage to grab an old blanket from a storage bin. That's when I saw it, an old phone charger sticking out of a box of tools. Something about it caught my eye. I dug through the box and found a dusty black burner. My stomach twisted. I had never seen this one before, not in all the time we'd lived together. I don't know what I expected, but when I powered it on, my hands were shaking. It wasn't locked, and what I found inside made my knees buckle. There were photos of me, intimate, private photos I'd only shared with him, but there were also pictures of other women. Some I recognized from town, some I didn't. Alongside them were text threads with his friends. They weren't just talking about me. They were bragging about affairs, sharing crude jokes about their wives, and even discussing illegal bets and gambling debts. I felt sick reading their words. It wasn't just Brandon. It was all of them. They treated their wives like property, like jokes. And the worst part, Brandon was the loudest voice in those chats. I sat in the garage for over an hour, scrolling through the filth on that phone, feeling my heart turn colder with each message. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something stronger than pain. I felt clarity. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was war. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't march out to confront Brandon. Not this time. I sat still, the burner phone in my lap, and I breathed long, quiet breaths that didn't feel like mine. The old Jessica might have broken down again, but the woman sitting in that garage had changed. The moment I saw those messages, those photos, I knew. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every woman being lied to, every secret these men thought would stay buried. So I started planning. Not for revenge, not exactly. This wasn't about rage. It was about truth, justice. That night, when Brandon was asleep, I snuck the burner phone into my room and connected it to my laptop. I backed up everything. Screenshots, messages, photos, names, dates. I organized it all into folders and saved copies on a hidden USB drive I tucked into a pair of rolled-up socks in my drawer. Then I factory reset the phone and placed it back in the garage exactly as I found it. He'd never know. Over the next few weeks, I started building my case quietly. I kept things calm between us, pretending like I'd moved on. I cooked dinner, watched TV, even laughed at his stupid jokes. But every day I gathered more. I began recording our conversations. The way he talked down to me, the little jabs meant to make me feel small. I saved receipts from his spending, including charges he lied about. I noted his strange disappearances during the week and what time he came back. I even took short videos when he was bragging to his friends in the driveway about the things women let you get away with if you say the right word. I also started talking to the wives, casually at first. Amy, Lauren, and Michelle. We'd see each other at grocery stores, school fundraisers, and weekend BBQs. I made light conversation, asked how they were doing, listened closely when they shared little frustrations. None of them had a clue what their husbands were really up to. But they were smart, and they had gut feelings, I could tell. They just didn't have proof. Not yet. I didn't want to destroy their lives, but they deserved the truth, the full, raw truth. I wasn't sure how I'd deliver it yet, but I knew when the time came, it would be undeniable. No excuses, no gaslighting, no escape. This boys' club had thrived on silence. I was done being silent. The next phase of my plan had to be quiet, careful, calculated. I started reaching out to the wives, Amy, Lauren, and Michelle. These were women I'd seen dozens of times before at BBQs, birthday parties, and holiday dinners. We smiled, made small talk, shared recipes, but we were never close. Not until now. I told them I was feeling isolated lately and wanted to start something simple, a casual girls' night every other week. Wine, snacks, maybe a movie or book talk. Nothing serious. Just an excuse to get out of the house. Amy jumped on board first, grateful for any break from her 2 toddlers. Lauren said she needed adult conversation, more than she realized. Michelle hesitated, but eventually said yes too. At our first meeting, we sat in my living room with a bottle of wine, candles lit, soft music playing in the background. I let the conversation flow naturally. I didn't push. I listened. They talked about work, their kids, their marriages. I nodded, smiled, asked questions, but I never led the conversation. I wasn't there to gossip. I was there to observe. Slowly, pieces started slipping out. Amy mentioned how her husband came home late smelling like beer on Tuesdays, poker night. Lauren joked about how her husband never let her near his phone. Michelle said she felt like her husband hadn't really seen her in years. Each one of them had stories, quiet worries, doubts they hadn't said out loud until now. None of them knew what I knew, but they felt something. I kept building the connection. Over the next few weeks, I hosted more girls' nights. We baked cookies, played board games, even tried yoga in the backyard one Sunday. They opened up more each time. I made sure I wasn't just someone spilling secrets. I became someone they could trust. Meanwhile, Brandon had no idea. He thought I had finally gotten over it, that I'd accepted his half-hearted excuses and moved on. He even encouraged me to make some girlfriends and relax more. He was back to being the charming guy everyone loved, but I knew what was under that mask now. He still came home late from poker nights, still laughed with his friends like nothing had changed, and every time he smirked at me from across the kitchen, I smiled back like I was his. But the truth was, I had never been more distant. The wives had no idea yet, no clue that I had the answers to all their quiet fears. But I wasn't ready to show my cards. Not yet. Trust takes time, and what I was about to share would shatter their world. I owed it to them to do it right. So I waited. I listened. I watched. Because when the truth finally came out, I didn't want there to be any doubt. When I knew the time was right, I met with each of the wives, one by one, face to face, heart to heart. I didn't want it to be dramatic or loud. I wanted it to be real, because what I was about to show them would crack their lives open. Amy was first. I invited her over for coffee on a quiet Tuesday morning. Her kids were at preschool, and the house was calm. I sat her down and said, "I have something to show you, and I'm so sorry in advance, but I think you deserve to know." She looked confused at first. Then I pulled out the tablet and opened a folder titled Proof. Screenshots of her husband talking about her like a joke. Photos he shouldn't have had. Group chats full of cruel comments. At first, she said nothing. Then her hands started shaking. And then she cried. I didn't say much. Just, "Whatever you decide to do with this, it's your choice. I just didn't want you living in the dark." Amy didn't even finish her coffee. She stood up, wiped her tears, and said, "I'm going home to pack. Thank you." That night, she left with her kids and stayed with her sister. She didn't look back. Next was Lauren. We met at a diner. I slid her a USB drive and a pair of earbuds. She watched a short clip, her husband bragging about cheating on her while drinking with Brandon. She froze. She blinked a few times, put down the drive, and said, "I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know it was this." That evening, during dinner, she stood up in front of her kids and asked her husband if he had anything to tell her. When he stumbled through excuses, she threw the USB on the table and walked out. Michelle was the quietest. I met her during one of our walks. I didn't push. I just said, "When you're ready, this is everything." I handed her the drive and walked away. 3 days later, she texted me. I saw it. "I believe you. I'm getting a lawyer." Each woman reacted in her own way, but none of them denied it. None of them said I was lying. And none of them tried to protect the men they once loved. Because the truth hit too hard. I didn't feel proud or powerful. I just felt relieved. The weight of those secrets didn't belong to me anymore. Once the truth started leaking, it spread like wildfire. Amy's sudden move raised questions. People asked if everything was okay, but she didn't offer details, just a cold stare and a "we're done." That alone was enough to spark gossip. Then Lauren's husband was seen shouting in their front yard, and she calmly walked past him, tossing a duffel bag into her car. Within days, whispers filled the neighborhood. Something had happened, something big. It didn't take long before the husbands started turning on each other. The poker group, their little brotherhood, began to fall apart. I heard from a mutual friend that one of them, Pete, got into serious trouble when his boss found out about his gambling addiction. Someone had tipped off HR with screenshots, probably one of the wives. Turns out, he'd been betting on company fund. He was fired the same week Lauren left her husband. Another, Steve, ended up at the police station after his wife accused him of years of hidden abuse. Nobody had ever seen her speak up before, but now that the silence was broken, she didn't hold back. She had screenshots, voice notes, photos. It was like a dam had burst, and there was no stopping the flood. Brandon realized quickly that this wasn't just a little drama, and he came home one night, red-faced and pacing. "What did you do, Jessica?" he barked. I just looked at him calmly and said, "Told the truth." He knew. He didn't have to ask how. He started spinning stories immediately. He told the neighbors I was unhinged, that I was making things up to get back at him. "She's just bitter," he told people. "She's trying to ruin everyone's life because I broke up with her." But it didn't work. People had seen too much. Too many things lined up. The women were speaking out. The wives had the proof. And I had my receipts neatly saved, time-stamped, dated, and ready to show anyone who dared question me. His charm stopped working. People who used to laugh at his jokes now avoided eye contact. His friends stopped inviting him to hangouts. Even at the garage, business started to dip. A few clients canceled after Amy posted a vague but powerful message online about men who betray trust and pretend they're the good guys. Brandon was unraveling. I could see it in the way he moved, quicker, more anxious. He didn't sleep much, paced the halls at night, muttered to himself in the kitchen. He was losing control, and it scared him. But not me. I felt clearer than I had in months. The truth had done what I hoped it would. It exposed the rot. It broke the silence. It tore down the false image these men hid behind. And now, all that was left was the fallout. It happened on a Thursday night, just as I was finishing a long shift at the ER. The waiting room was busy, full of tired families and the low hum of fluorescent light. I was at the nurse's station, reviewing charts, when I heard the door slam open. Then his voice, loud, angry, out of control. "Jessica, you think you can ruin my life and just walk away?" Heads turned. Patients stared. And there he was, Brandon, red-faced, shouting in front of everyone. His eyes wild, his fists clenched. For a second, I froze. But then I stood up straight. Security rushed in within moments. One of the guards recognized him from a previous visit and moved fast. "Sir, you need to leave. Right now." Brandon kept yelling, his voice cracking as he pointed at me. "You lied. You turned everyone against me. You're nothing but a bitter." "Enough," I said, calm but firm. "Get out, Brandon." Security escorted him out, and the doors shut behind him. I stood still, heart racing but face steady. A few of the nurses came over to check on me. My manager gently put a hand on my shoulder and said, "We've got your back, Jess." By now, most of the ER staff had heard the story. Not in detail, but enough to know I wasn't the villain in them. Later that night, as I pulled into the driveway of the duplex, he was there, waiting, his car parked crooked, his hands stuffed in his jacket pockets like a sulking teenager. I didn't get out of my car right away. I watched him through the windshield. He looked tired, hollow. When I finally stepped out, he walked up to me slowly. "I messed up," he said quietly. "I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please, Jess." "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. His eyes welled up. He actually cried. For a moment, I almost felt something. Then I remembered the photos. The laughter. The way he dismissed my pain like it was a joke. So I looked him dead in the eye and said, "I trusted you with my body. You sold it for laughs. You get nothing from me now." He said my name again, softer this time. But I was already walking past him, into the house. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't look back. I moved out of the duplex 2 weeks after the final confrontation. No big fight, no dramatic send-off. Just a quiet goodbye to a place that once felt like home, and now felt like a graveyard of memories I didn't want to visit anymore. I found a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, creaky floors, but it was mine. No ghosts of Brandon in the walls. No reminders of poker nights, fake laughter, or nights I cried myself to sleep while he watched TV like nothing had happened. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe. I cut off everyone connected to him, his friends, their wives, even the ones I'd helped. Not because I hated them, I just needed distance. I needed to find myself again without being pulled back into that world. I didn't want to be the girl who exposed them, or Brandon's ex. I just wanted to be Jessica again. I started therapy. I'll be honest, I was nervous. Sitting in front of a stranger and unpacking years of damage didn't sound fun. But my therapist was kind, patient, and she didn't judge. Week by week, I started recognizing the patterns. The way Brandon made me question my own feeling. The way I gave up parts of myself to keep peace. The way I thought love meant staying, even when it hurt. I started doing little things that made me feel human again. I went hiking on weekends, just me and a backpack. I listened to music I liked, not the playlists Brandon used to mock. I started cooking again, not because I had to, but because I enjoyed it. I even called my mom more. We had grown distant over the years, but she always picked up. People kept asking if I was going to start dating again. But the truth was, I wasn't ready. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't need someone else to fix me. I wasn't healing so I could give my heart to someone new. I was healing so I could finally give it back to myself. There were hard days, of course. Days I doubted if any of it had been worth it. Days I felt lonely. But there were also mornings I woke up smiling for no reason, just because I could. Just because I was free. And that freedom, that peace, was more valuable than any apology, any revenge, any closure Brandon could ever give me. I had reclaimed my space, my voice, my life. And this time, I wasn't letting anyone take it from me again. It had been a few quiet months since I moved into my new apartment. Life had settled into a peaceful rhythm. Therapy sessions once a week, hikes on weekends, early mornings with coffee and books instead of chaos and anxiety. I wasn't constantly looking over my shoulder anymore. The noise, the drama, the betrayal, it had all faded into a distant echo. Then one evening, I got a message. It was from Michelle, one of the wives, the one who had said the least, shown the least emotion, but had seen everything. Her message was short, simple. "Thank you for telling me the truth, for not letting us stay blind." I read it twice. My chest tightened, but not in a painful way. It felt like something had gently closed, a quiet, final door on a chapter that once defined me. I sat there, holding my phone, thinking about all that had happened. The night I found the photos, the shaking hands, the rage that simmered under my skin, the girls' nights, the silent plans, the evidence gathered like armor. And then the collapse, the chaos, the confrontation. It was a storm I never asked for, but I'd walk through it anyway. And in the end, I didn't come out of it trying to burn everything down. I came out of it holding the truth. Not just Brandon's truth, but mine too. I realized this story was never really about what Brandon did. It wasn't about the photos or the lies or even the betrayal. It was about what I chose to do afterward. I didn't let his actions define me. I didn't let the shame stick. I didn't bury myself in silence, even when it would have been easier. I spoke up. I exposed the truth. I chose healing. I chose me. And maybe that's the part people forget in stories like this. We always think the pain is the end of it, but it's not. Sometimes pain is just the start of something stronger. So if you're still here listening, maybe you've been through something similar. Maybe someone made you feel small, ashamed, or invisible. Let me tell you this. If you've ever been betrayed like this, just know, you're not crazy. You're not alone. And sometimes, the best revenge is truth. What would you have done if you were in Jessica's shoes? Would you have exposed the truth like she did, or taken a different path? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. And if you enjoy powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new one.